Welcome to the channel, doing Weirdo Prog. My interpretation of this subgenre of progressive music is that it should be off-center or overlooked, or maybe was unpopular at the time. So, yes, cut to the chase, unpopular prog, at least for my selections.
I've got one that's unpopular and one that's fantastically popular.
Good for you.
Yeah, just kind of straddling extremes there,
Yeah, both of my records today are united by the fact that both bands are from the UK and both are focused on the cosmos or space.
I have Wapassou, which is their first record from 1974. They're French with female vocals in for French. And I hate to say it, but this is my favorite genre, parlor prog, which with lots of classical structures. It's got a folk hippie vibe. It's spacey, but it's got a consistent mood of despondent and melancholy. It's in fact, what separates it a little bit is that it has no drums on side one and very light percussion on side two, with clarinet, guitar, synth, violin used in unconventional ways. They sing songs about life and death, eternity, anti-war. A lot of this is just instrumental. Overall, this is ethereal and elusive, and probably as good as some of Popol Vuh possibly can, that sort of thing. There's a completeness of the moods that they present, very convincing. And although this is their first record, they have several titles after this, which I need to explore. Of course, this came right from my prog section. Second, I have Bruce Palmer. The Cycle is Complete from 1970. This was originally released on Verve, and this reissue that I have is on Akarama. You need a little backstory to appreciate and understand Bruce Palmer's music. He's Canadian, and he cut his teeth in all black R&B groups in Toronto. And he ended up in a band, the Minor Birds, with Rick James and Neil Young. But when they went to record their album, Rick uh, Rick James was arrested because he was a draft dodger. So that imploded the whole project. And Neil and Bruce bought a hearse and drove to LA, created Buffalo Springfield, which is another story. This is nothing like their music. And at some point, because of drug offense, Bruce was deported. And then he snuck back into the country dressed as a businessman, but got involved in drugs and became unreliable. So that's when Buffalo Springfield imploded. And he just went right out with the creds that he had and made this solo record. So he hired Rick James, pre-Super Freak, to be the producer, who provides a beautiful scat meltdown on the first song, which takes up most of side one. And he also plays percussion. And then he got some jazz players to fill out the music. And side one is basically all fusion, sort of a hippie jam with jazz, a little bit of ethnic influence, but it's got a really consistent groove. And he wrote all the songs on this, or they just sort of improvise them. That's a better description. Side two is full of mysterious voices and really dark. There's a little bit of hand percussion and some crazy sort of synths. Overall, this is blackened winter of hate, not summer of love music, with sort of an instrumental outsider jazz, complete suite exploring a damaged id. And I keep this in my to play at a party section. And when I do play it at a party, most people think it's jazz. So that's probably what it is for all you jazz bows.
I have here is an album from 1974, Lady June's Linguistic Leprosy.
Closer. Thank you.
Those are and with the fabulous collage work there. This was recently reissued. It had been in circulation since the 70s. This is an album that showed up on the famous Nurse with Wound list, and and on it collaborate really any number of fancy people like Brian Eno, David Allen, other members of Gong, Kevin Ayers. Allen Ginsberg is thanked, although I don't believe he actually shows up. But he's appropriate, I suppose, because this is basically poetry set to music, or the music acts as a showcase for this spoken word um, of Lady June, who evidently was this magnetic personality who also served as a landlord or landlady to various members of the Canterbury scene. So they decided to team up with their cool landlady to make a record of sort of dark poetry, um, which is what this is. Interest anybody who is a fan of Gong, Eno, the Soft Machine, bands like that. It also has plenty to stimulate the mind fibers of people who are into sort of hippie, free form verbal ramblings across the cosmos. So that's number one. Number two is from a few years before that, and this again, I'm just amazed that this band ever had the level of success that it did. But that's really a credit to popular taste more than anything else. So there is hope for the masses yet, so long as the world can, embrace Jethro Tull.
Woohoo!
What a weird ass group. Like just from the name and the whole sort of fascination with crop rotation, to the flute, to songs, with lyrics like snot running down his nose, um, like on the title track here. That's right, leering at small girls with ill intent or whatever. I guess this takes up our earlier conversation of how what is now taboo used to be flaunted in the rock and roll world. Um, Although actually, to their credit, you know what, Ian Anderson and the boys here don't seem to be wholly approving of it. They're not sort of jumping into the shoes of Aqualung. They're inviting commiseration with a poor old sod, as the lyrics has it. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, any number of other albums by Jethro Tull could have been considered, I suppose, but this one, and maybe Thick as a Brick, really I think set the standard for their output, and other great songs here too, and hits even like Locomotive Breath. So you can't go wrong, really, with the first decade of Jethro Tull's output, uh, but in general, but this album in particular, because of its just kind of sweeping vision of the world, just kind of turned into a dirty Kleenex that is then thrown away, a vision beyond compare. All right, that's my second choice.
Okay. For my first record, I chose Hawkwind's Hall of the Mountain Grill. It's from 1974. This was their fifth album, and I think it's probably their proggiest, or it's one of their proggiest for sure. And I think it's also maybe their best, if not their best, then their second best. If you're only familiar with Hawkwind, it feels like people who don't know Hawkwind real well have probably only heard Space Ritual, which is cool, but it's it's a pretty different beast, you know? That's sort of like a pile driving. And this is a much more dynamic record. So yeah, it's less bludgeoning, it's certainly more varied. It's, you know, you definitely, there are the riffy space rock songs still, but it also benefits from the addition of, they brought in a guy named Simon House on violin and various kinds of keyboards. And it really shows because there's a bunch of cool little instrumental songs. In addition to the typical space rock songs. And of course, Lemmy is still here on this record, and his bass playing is all over the place. It's awesome. There's a song that he wrote just by himself that he later took to Motorhead called Lost Johnny. There's a great version of it here. It's just a haunting Weirdo song. If you don't know Hawkwind real well, or you don't think you know them, I'd suggest checking this record out. So that's number one. Number two is Cryptic Shifts. That's SHIFT. Cryptic Shift, also from the UK. The album is called Visitations from, I'm gonna have to look at it, Enceladus, which is, the internet informs me that this is a moon that orbits Saturn or something like that. But this record's from 2020, and these guys are one of those metal bands that you kind of need 3 or 4 or 5 different modifiers to describe their sound. You know, you could call it proggy technical death metal, maybe, or thrashy proggy death metal. Whatever you choose to call it, these dudes can really play. It's, if you're wondering for comparisons, you know, it kind of recalls Voivod in some cases. And in looking at, I see this guy actually is wearing a Voivod t-shirt, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, Voivod, Cynic, Atheist, you know, other sort of like off-center metal bands who could play really well and who made complicated songs. Current comp is Blood Incantation, probably. There's some real similarities. The first song, named Moonbelt Immolator, great name. It's 26 minutes long, and there's a million different passages to it. You know, there's like atmospheric stuff. There's, you know, savage riffing and, you know, blast beats, and then there'll be like a proggy interlude, and then like a long instrumental section, you know, and then you're back to the blast beats. And, you know, I mean, but this is really adventurous stuff. It's often difficult, but one thing that distinguishes this from lots of other technical metal is that these songs are really good. Like, some of this is even hummable, which is not something you can really say about too much of this music. If you're interested in stuff like this, I'd give this record a try.
Trying not to, straddling extremes, trying not to tear a seam.
That's a different category. Mystical. That's cosmic. That's what cosmic means.
Bass.
Like that proggy space between your legs? Or should I say froggy?
Or boggy.
Boggy. She doesn't dig the Tull.
She does not dig the Tull. No. Verbal ramblings across the cosmos. Masses yet. So long as the world can embrace Jethro Tull.
Woohoo!
What a weird ass group. From the name and the whole sort of fascination with crop rotation, to the flute, lyrics like snot running down his nose.